universities around the country and around the world stacked nested in halves, like a stack like that. We can ship 70 tanks on one truck and then assemble them on site instead of, if we assemble these like this, we can only get like 10 on a truck.
When we were in Coburg and you look at those variables, this will just be them drawing the same kind of access library, the same kind of
Coburg has so Coburg has the exact same system that we're doing in Ohio. But they have a sewer function system. This would treat all the way from
you still need your soil dispersal system. Follow.
Yeah. Still have to that all makes off there a lot of things. Yeah, the membrane is still in Coburg, the membrane was converted to these membranes are in the particle. They'll stay on the big but this is much smaller.
MBBRs. I'm going to pass that around. This is shows our test unit where we were testing for mixing and that sort of thing. But MBBR is basically the same as a regular aeration basin, except it has this media in it. But the media is pretty pivotal. One thing it allows you to do is shrink the size of the unit because the bacteria, for the most part, are retained on the plastic here. And we have screens between the tanks so that as the media is being mixed, it doesn't travel over to the other tank, it stays in the tank that it's in. And by doing that, it makes it a lot simpler to operate because with normal treatment system, like just an open aeration basin, you would have to return sludge back to the basin to keep it in sync. In the same way with membranes and things like that, they're all activated sludge, and the sludge that settles out in the clarifier, usually you pump that back. And you have to be really careful as an operator to get that return correct. If you don't, then you can cause upsets and things can start foaming or they start to not settle. So these have been a great addition to the treatment world by allowing us to make things smaller and easier to operate. So again, we make two different types of MBBRs. One's an MBBR D, which we were talking about here, which is for denitrification. And then we have an MBBR A, which is for aeration. And so I'll explain hopefully how that works. This is an MBBR D, and down on the bottom, those are ejectors. And they over time, they grow a big bubble in there. And our whole idea with the MBBR D is we don't want to induce air into the system because we want it to be anoxic there. That's how the denitrification takes place. So we've put different types of mixers in there, and just about any time you try will add oxygen because of the stirring motion. This just grows a giant bubble, and it all of a sudden goes off and floats out the bottom up to the top there, and it disperses the media, and then since it's floatable, it runs back together. So it mixes just by that bubble going through, and the bubble is so big that it doesn't come in contact with the water for hardly any time at all. So it really, even though we're using an air bubble, it's so big it doesn't add air to the system. If you have any questions as I'm going along, feel free to ask. And so an MBBRA, in that system, we're actually adding air. And in order to increase the efficiency, we want as small a bubble as we can get. And so we use fine bubble diffusers. There are a lot of these systems that use the larger bubbles, but A, they don't mix very well, and they don't, it takes a lot more air to get them to treat.
Energy.
And energy, yeah. Yeah, air equals energy. Okay, and I think, yeah, there you can kind of, so if you wondered why we have white media and black media, it's so we can watch it mix. And by adding one to the other, then you can see how that's working. Okay, this is a system of fine bubble diffusers. There's a cap and a membrane right here, and these are set in there so you can actually slide them back out if you need to. But the membrane here, when you put the air comes in through this header and it wants to get out through that membrane. The membrane's very fine and it causes little minute bubbles, and because there's so many of them, it really increases the surface area of oxygen that's contacting the wastewater. I think.
These are the same containers that we use the Axe Maxes with, right? So they could be underground.
Yes, yeah, this one, we just sat it in our shop. We have a shop where they take the finished tanks to water test them. They put water in them. And so you can see, once this gets going, it's pretty active. And so you want it pretty active as far as the mixing, but you don't want to go too far to where you knock the material off your media. Oh, and by the way, I did wash the media before
And this would have a lid on it, so it would be, you wouldn't have it open air.
Right, I'm going to show you an installed one here in a second. You're familiar with our little utility buildings? They make these basically the same way. Eric makes them the same way he makes the tanks. In fact, didn't you just turn the tank upside down the first time?
Yeah, the first one was like, hey, we got a building if we turn this upside down.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
I remember that.
And these buildings have gotten very sophisticated over time. Okay, and this is an actual picture of one of the membranes. And this is an oxygen sensor. So these things are really pretty easy to operate for the most part because the material is on the media. We can take a DO measurement, or dissolved oxygen, to see what our residual is as it's leaving the tank. And so we can put a sensor right in there, and it can actually turn the blowers up or turn the blowers down based on what it's sensing. And if it happens to plug for any reason, we can set the program to just go to what its baseline is and give you an alarm so you know that you need to go out and check that and make sure it's operating. And these are all designed on Metcalf and Eddy Wastewater Engineering 5th edition. A lot of people are into that. Okay, and this was our test unit that we put in up at Glide. That shows these are the aeration basins, and this is the post-anoxic. Okay, here's you go, Steve. That's an MBBRD, or excuse me, not D, an A, and these are Maxes. And this is at Rush Creek in at Yosemite, and they had so many people visiting their facility that they overloaded our Maxes. It was like twice the amount of flow it's supposed to have. So you can't see it from here, but it's a really restricted site. It just falls off after this flat spot. So in order to increase the amount of flow that we could treat, we put a MBBRA here ahead of the Maxes, and we use the Maxes to polish. So that works out really well to pre-treat it with a MBBRA and then go to Maxes for polishing. This one doesn't have denitrification in this particular one, but we have others that do.
How many houses, or what sort of what's its capacity?
It's hard to relate it to houses because it's commercial waste, but it's
How many restaurants?
yeah, it would be several restaurants because
5, 10, 15?
10 probably.
We're probably talking about 20,000 gallons a day on that one?
On
Or
this
more,
one here?
30,000?
The
Yeah.
commercial core.
Yeah, it's between
Yeah.
20 and 30. And so it's like a big resort hotel.
Yeah, that's kind of what the one I'm doing is like.
Are you thinking Los Olivos?
No, I've got 100% plans for downtown 29 Palms. That's already been designed.
Okay, and
They had a small area that they had to work on.
shows a unit in operation, and this is the screen. This is the screen that keeps the media in the tank instead of overflowing. Okay, so now this is the layout that, that we did. This was designed this weekend to treat about between 27,000 and 37,000.
It was phase 1 and phase 1 A and B, is that what it was?
Phase 1, Phase 2B, and Phase 2A and Phase 2B.
That would be the downtown corridor and some of the residential? Yes.
Just to kind of give you an idea, it increased about 10,000 gallons a day. And so we're able to go from 20% media to 30% media and not change anything for that
What's
particular
media?
scenario. Yeah. We
Those
just,
cubes.
what's that? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So these come in bags, and so basically what you have to do is just pour it in.
Now what's the footprint though of this?
Those are 10 by 50s, and I gave you a meander tank just because it'd be good for mixing, but that's optional. And then this is your control building down here, which is 10 by 12.
Uh-huh.
And
So you're talking about 50 by 60, basically?
yeah, that probably.
But you could have them linear. They don't have to be horizontal on top of each other, right? If you put them down in an alley.
Oh yeah, you could,
Long ways, yes.
yes you could.
And if you had to expand, you could just add more units?
Yeah. If we got the actual flows that you guys want, Give me 10 minutes or maybe 20. But I can come up with a layout for you, and I can do it tomorrow if you'd like. But again, evidently, Grant, I'm not sure where the numbers came from, but those.
Well, that is our downtown corridor with some of the residential.
The adjoining residential.
The adjoining residential, not the outline residential. But this is the core.
Does this include, is this just treatment, or does this include collection as well? I'm not sure. I see.
Oh, well, collection, you saw the Prelos tanks, the
Yeah.
round tanks?
Would be the step.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just one of those at each house.
Just point out where it go into the system there, Mike.
Yeah. It would
Pressure
pump
line.
to right here,
Okay.
and then it flows to this. The meander tank here basically is for mixing. We nitrify and then pump a certain amount of it back over here, and it nitrate reacts with the BOD in the tank and lowers the BOD, which is the strength of the wastewater, and denitrifies, so you get kind of some free work there, and that's one of the reasons.
And then when it says to polishing, what, the polishing is another big tank?
Yeah, polishing, these are maxes. And so there would be approximately 4 maxes compared, on this particular layout.
And that's 25,000 gallons, you said.
37,000.
So, but you said a commercial core of about 5 restaurants would be 10,000 around.
Depends on how many seats are in the restaurant.
Yeah, I'm not sure if.
Not many in what we have now. I don't think any of them have more than.
No, so it
30.
seems like 10,000 would be enough for the commercial core, and this is
Yeah.
30,000, so that means it's really taking in a lot more.
Yeah, no, I think this was based on, the downtown corridor and all the residences in that surrounding area.
Yeah, phase 1 and 2, that whole.
That's phase 1.
Yeah.
This is phase 1 and 2,
Yeah.
Okay.
not phase 3. In the
Now,
outline area.
how big is that
So that-
added on to the other part?
This 42-footer,
Yeah, you've got the others that you showed on the previous slide,
yeah, these are
And-
42 feet long, and they're about 7.5 feet wide.
and they're placed in they can be placed anywhere around that same thing in any kind of configuration.
Yes.
Yeah, as long as
pretty
you
much
don't
do.
have a whole bunch of differential.
Yeah,
then-
got a pretty good
Everything's flat, everything's flat
Yeah.
around us.
Well, I think when you and I were looking at this, we were tucking them away in various places.
Yeah.
Right.
And that might
It's
be,
been a while.
Yeah.
And
So-
these are the systems that Dunn has in, correct?
Correct.
yeah.
Okay.
This is what Dunn has right now, what you're seeing here. The other one is taking some of the high-strength waste and some of the other.
And these are for polishing after it goes through the MBRA, then goes into the MBBRD. This is where it denitrifies. And then it goes through a clarifier and then over to the.
So basically, that's about a 40 by 50 because the control room can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Mike, the MBBRA and D that are on there, like how many AX maxes is that replacing?
Oh, a lot.
Okay, that's I think.
See
what
that
we're
I
missing
think
here.
what they saw initially is they saw a presentation with just maxes and it was massive.
Right,
And
and that's
this
what
just
we
brings
need.
the
This is
footprint
really
down.
going to
And
put
we
your
like that.
footprint down. Yes.
This brings down the footprint.
Yeah, one of the nice things about the Maxes is that they are a lot less maintenance. So the
And
combination.
if you compare this with like an MBR for maintenance,
MBR is going to be like an activated sludge because you basically have to return and get.
we don't know what that means.
Return sludge. Basically, let's
How
just.
much more work would it be than this?
Well, there's in the clarifier here, there would be a sludge pump. And then you have to set the sludge pump right to pump the right amount of sludge back to the head of the plant. If you don't, either the bugs get too hungry or they don't get hungry enough.
So somebody has to be tweaking it?
Yeah, and you can have upsets and things like that.
And with this, that's not happening?
No, the biological material stays in the tank on the media. So you'd have to go in and try to kill it to cause damage.
So as I understand it, each little house has a little green tank, and then all of that gets pumped into this treatment center.
Right. The Prelos Collection System, we used to call them a step system, so would get pumped in right here.
And you don't make anything that can just pump it from the residence into the groundwater? Like, have that individual system be self-contained?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we can
Yeah?
do that.
You can do that.
Yeah. Yep.
Was
If
it-
you wanna go just residential,
Mhm.
we can put a green tank, 2 green tanks, right there, and treat it well enough to put it back, depending on what your treatment requirements are. But-
It's total nitrogen of 10, so.
Yeah,
it's
okay,
a little
so-
harder.
Yeah, so I think you and I looked at that, and we had a small denitrification, but if you were gonna do the commercial and the residential, you could have a collection system that went out to the commercial, and the residential could treat on-site, and then pump into that. You could have a central denitrification. Would probably be the most efficient.
Would
Yeah,
you,
How
that
big
would
of
just
a
be a
deal is
fraction
the
of the size.
denitrification? I mean, you said you could put a little package plant on every individual home, but then it's a lot better to stick it into a central.
It is because you have to pump carbon into the system, and again, it's kind of like that return sludge. You got to get it set, or otherwise you're wasting a whole bunch of carbon or not treating.
The regulations on the single-family home allows us to do 50% reduction of total nitrogen. But what the regional board is asking for the city is a total of nitrogen of 95%. So total nitrogen down to below
That'd be
10.
about 6 or so.
Yes, yeah. So that means we would have to have a small system to take that treated effluent and denitrify it or polish it off at the end.
Is that very expensive on an individual basis?
Well, one thing that I wasn't totally sure about, I just got to read the report this morning
Yes.
quickly. So, is how much residential growth you expect. From what I understood, it sounded like as the units fail, they're gonna make them hook up to the sewer.
See, the problem with that is that you have to do underground work, where otherwise if you just have an individual system on each property lot, you don't have to do that underground piping.
Yeah.
And as far as growth, there isn't any growth. The town can't grow beyond 356 houses.
Yeah, when I was talking about growing, I meant from phase 1 to phase 3 or whatever the phase was.
In town, there's some lots that are so small that would not be able to
Right.
handle it.
But if you did phase 1 and phase 2 with land like this,
Right.
and then,
Everybody else.
The outlying
individual.
areas,
well,
yeah.
that or take clusters, take another area
Yeah.
and do a smaller one for a smaller group of residential areas into one smaller treatment.
Yes, we have a system, Terry,
I mean-
where's the
Sunset Bay?
Sunset Bay, yeah.
Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee, they actually treat on site, and then it pumps into a collection system, and they take it to a central disposal area, which is kind of cool. But we could make this one even cooler if you had the commercial area. We could pump the residential, and we would have it settle out the solids, nitrify and nitrify, and then we put it into the pipeline with all that BOD from the commercial, and we'd get a lot of denitrification on the way to the treatment plant. And that would do 2 things. It gets rid of a considerable amount of nitrogen, and it lowers the BOD that you gotta treat with this part.
What's BOD?
Biochemical oxygen demand, it's basically how strong it is. So the higher the BOD number, the stronger the wastewater.
He's saying he could dilute the commercial core with the flow from the residences.
How dirty the water is. The water from a restaurant is a lot dirtier than that. It's diluted from your single-family residence with your showers and your washing machines. So that's
Sure, so
more
you're
water.
helping out the commercial core with the water, the
Well,
gray
you're
water
just,
of the
you're
residences.
just making the whole
Neutralize
system
it.
more efficient
Yeah.
by doing that. So, it works out really well at Sunset Bay.
Yeah, without even trying the total nitrogen at Sunset Bay, it's coming in around 13 or 14. And we're not even trying to reduce total.
And by the way, that's Terry Bounds, he's one of the other owners.
At Camp S. Kramer, we were getting total nitrogen of 4. We were getting turbidity at 0.06
Oh, that's good, that's real good. Welcome.
and non-detect of BOD. So that was Axe-Max with an MMBR D-night.
Yeah. And didn't we do that on Catalina Island?
We've done a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and
When we
and-
talk about BOD, BOD is just our engineering term for the organic matter that's in your wastewater. And restaurants have a lot of
Yeah.
excessive
Well,
oil.
the piping isn't done like digging a trench and putting pipe down, it's the pressure boring, isn't it?
Yeah, and I
What we're
think the
talking
idea
about?
is with a small diameter pressure, you can bore it. You don't have to dig up
Directional boring.
Yeah.
directional boring.
Which is way less disruptive.
Yeah.
I
I didn't have any slides on that.
Unless you're, the directional boring, you're not allowed to go over other people's property unless they give you permission, correct?
Oh, yeah. But that's with anything, you have to have an easement.
If you're gonna dig a hole, you'd have the same problem.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, both
Oh,
of those are
you're
pumps, so
saying
that's
get
why
rid
I'm
of
saying
those,
that would
yeah.
be, so you know wastewater. My concept would be, everybody's gonna be jealous that they're paying for the BOD of the commercial core. If you can keep the commercial core by itself, you can say they can take care of that, and then all you private residents have the opportunity to have your very own system as soon as it fails. But the thing is it's not really possible to have your very own system if your own system fails, because your very own system's gonna have to pump to the commercial core system, right? Or is that what you have to do, what's better to do, or could you do without it?
Yeah. How's that?
He's running for board. He sounds like a politician.
That's what I was thinking when you said that. But the best thing would be to put it back in the pipe, and because you'd get treatment on the way to the treatment plant. Okay. But if there was a reason that you couldn't, or it would, I designed a step system for Malibu back in the day, and it was totally, absolutely political. So once we got it all designed, we reduced their price by $40 million, took care of all their technical problems, and then we were working for the county because it was an unincorporated area. All of a sudden they decided, Malibu said, the county put a sewer in, we're gonna incorporate, so they did.
And then they wanted one later, and the county wouldn't let them do it.
Yeah, so that was all political. But anyway, in answer to your question, probably the most effective one would be to pump back into the system and treat. But we could definitely do it on-site, individual, if we needed to. And that might be something that you can negotiate with the board.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is the regional board, because it's a sensitive area, is gonna require something. And the question is how you can do it and how the commercial restaurants pay their fair share. So they're gonna have a higher maintenance ongoing because they're gonna be responsible for.
That's why I think it'd be great if we separate it.
Yeah, technically it's not a problem, but
Yeah.
And technically, the homeowners, would it be more expensive if they weren't putting their effluent back into the commercial core? It would be more expensive for them
Yeah.
on a yearly basis with maintenance.
It would be because of that denitrification that we had to have out on their lot. Otherwise, it would make no difference,
Mhm.
or maybe be a little cheaper.
Mhm.
What would maybe be, you said the denitrification at the advanced on-site? Or in the- what do you-
Yeah.
Individual.
If we had to meet 10 on each individual property, that gets a little
But
tough.
right now, the way it is if we do a single-family residence, we can get away with 50%.
Yeah, and if we can do that, we can do that in our sleep.
Exactly.
A single family resident
Thanks.
get away with 50%? What do you mean 50% of what?
Well, right now, the kind of regulations are that you have to have something that's certified, an advanced treatment system that's certified to reduce the total nitrogen by 50%. That's what we're putting in all over Santa Barbara County.
But that's what you can do individually too with your nitrogen reducer in the end, whatever that last thing you're gonna put on your.
Well, we would, to do what he's talking
To
about, I
add-
wouldn't
yeah.
take that last piece.
We wouldn't
just do
have
it.
to do that last piece for a single-family residence.
That's
See, the thing is what I'd really love to see is commercial core only, and then every time your septic fails, now you gotta go with something, but then there's something, and thinking about drilling, even if it's underground drilling, through whoever you have to drill to get to the main line, that to me is the biggest headache. It'd be so great if everybody, individual homeowner, could just do it when they fail, which is gonna be soon, then they just go into their little green.
Here's the thing though, you have a district. You have the ability to borrow money or to get a grant for everything, including putting in somebody's single-family residence system as part of your district and have them, if that homeowner will allow you as a district easement to maintain that system.
That's the deal, it's the easement.
So that's just it.
Even
But
if
you have
we're hooked
utility
up
easements
to-
But you already
for
have
your
utility.
gas, your water, your
Yeah,
electricity.
you already have it.
utility easements on every bit of it.
Yeah,
That's the kind of easement it is. It's the same thing. It's the same thing that lets the guy, well, now they do it with a wireless Wi-Fi reader.
Read the
They
meter.
don't have to go in and have your dog chase them around, but, you know. But yeah, same idea.
but they have easements to your property
Yeah.
anyway, all the way up to your house.
To your meter.
So this system that you have designed here, this would cover, you said it was up to 30,000 gallons a day, roughly?
37,000, I think.
And-
It's on there somewhere. Well, it's
This
probably.
was,
looks
this
like
was
it's
the
on-
treatment for
Phase 1 and 2.
phase
Yeah.
1 and 2.
And the piece of property that the district acquired from the county, but they did acquire it, correct? Or-
I'm not
Yes.
sure. Did they actually? get
That's
that-
what I've
that
been told.
bowling alley piece?
That's what I've been told.
Got it?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if you could overlay this on a Google map over that piece, just to see what it actually looks like. And then the other thing is, there's an unimproved county road, which is due to be paved, we were talking about on the flight up, that is straight off of that property, that goes all the way to the downtown core. And that's why I was wondering if you could do infiltration, or you could get rid of the water there.
Do traffic radar to infiltrate.
If you get me the map, I can, to scale. We can drop them in there. We do that quite often.
Yeah, that'd be at least.
These
it'd
are,
be kind of fun.
these
to
are what
see.
Steve
Yeah.
calls cartoons that I dropped, because they're never to scale, but he usually gets them in 10 minutes or so.
I get these cartoons and then we put around how it's gonna go, and then we get real drawings from
And
it.
then we do a real thing, yeah.
And you could show expansion areas, because if you needed to add another one or two of those MBBRs over time, like say you bring on phase 3, or maybe it's phase 2C or whatever, you could add more in.
Well,
Yeah, they wouldn't. We're known for being decentralized. So don't ever get the idea that you got to have all your
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
things in one spot.
There are-
We can spread them all over the place.
yeah.
There's a couple different places. In fact, there's a, right up on Alamo Pintado, on Grand, right across from Luca. There's a billionaire that owns a lot, that's got a big oak tree on it, and a gate, concrete block wall around it that he can't build on.
Mr. Allen.
Why
Huh?
can't you-
Well, he wants to build a big house, but they won't let him take down the oak tree.
Yeah.
So,
Allen Park.
Yeah, so, you know, that could be a good second site, satellite site.
Yeah. You can go small, there's a lot of
Yep.
sites, you know. And then even the elementary school, years ago, when you were on the board,
That's right, that's
our
what we
elementary
talked
school's
about.
right up the hill from town. It's got a 3-acre ball field that we're talking about redoing.
Yeah.
If you're pumping, you can go
If it's-
up altitude without
Yeah.
any problem. And then just use subsurface drip irrigation for the playing field and some of the other landscaping in the school.
It's a win-win.
That's what we talked about way back when.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, that was
I
technically.
think that's might get revived if we're lucky.
The system that Mike was talking about earlier, Sunset Bay, Tennessee, they have a 5-acre drip system that's what they finally discharge into. And it's a big boating community. It's
I saw that one too.
enclosed.
I looked at a whole bunch of different things online.
They're gonna build out to 750 homes.
That's twice.
See, I
as-
think that what the concern of this community is to try to stay as it is, a small, small unique community that does not want the ability of a sewer to change the character of the town.
I think that's what the community wanted, and that's why they set up the CSD, and that somehow has gotten blurred. Is that a good word?
Big engineers.
Used.
And now that you have the CSD, again, we've talked about this before, but you should direct your engineering company on what you want, not
What they want.
not what they want.
No, I for one, like that idea. And I like the place where allegedly we already own, so.
It really is impressive what you're doing here.
That
The
saves a lot
owners
of
are
time.
impressive, just with
Yeah.
who you guys are. And the manufacturing is gobsmacking, and the fact that you did this for us and lined it up so we can see it right away, I really appreciate it a lot. And I think you've sold your company very well.
Thank you. Anybody got any more questions? Then you can,
Oh,
Steve's got my email address.
O&M for something like this. Are you able to project O&M for these different scenarios?
We can work on it. One of the things I would do first is talk to your board, and by that I mean the water quality board, because your operators come in levels.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I think it's levels in California. We do so many states, it gets confusing. But anyways, so like for instance, our Advantex, you're level 1, bingo, you're good. This would be slightly higher probably for the MBBR, but like a membrane or activated sludge is going to be quite a ways up on the list. So it's going to cost you quite a bit more for that person. So if I knew what that was, then we'd give you some hours.
You may need a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4,
So an
5,
advantage
depending
is a
on how
1, a 2
high
is
up
something
the
like
chain
here, and a
you are.
number 3 is what we saw where they have to clean those membranes.
But like how many man hours a year would you be looking? You know, just-
Yeah, well, we can come up with an estimate
Okay.
for that.
Perfect.
But first of all, I'd like to make sure I got your right scenario. We're in a little bit of a hurry. I only work 2 days a week, so.
You did good, you did really good.
That's at 37,000 gallons,
Having fun.
correct?
Started
30
2 days ago.
But you can cut
Started
that in
last
half
night,
too.
or
And
this
it's all of a sudden, we said, oh, we need something at 20,000.
Yeah, exactly.
You just
The
Scale
pressure.
it back.
scale it back.
To get out of here.
Yeah, yeah, and if you built it, basically,
So we're-
you just probably take some of the media out, make it easier to operate. But that's
Every now and then.
basically, we went from 27,000 to 37,000 by adding 10% more media.
What about odor on this compared to some of the other technologies?
This is all,
Well, I gotta.
if you were looking at that tank lid, it was upside down. We have gasketed lids that go all over this, so if when they're aerobic, you shouldn't get any smell. It smells, you get a musty odor. But the MBVRD, if it were to have any kind of an odor, it'd be real easy to just scrub that. But again, the air all comes out
Yeah, they don't move as.
in a vent and out of it. So,
I'm getting my exercise.
it's not like a big open tank where you.
They're saying you put charcoal filter or something like that on there and you can mitigate the
Yeah,
odors.
we use soil filters usually.
Soil filters,
Yeah, they're pretty benign.
minor sponge filters.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can-
like a bed of compost or something like that, and you blow the air through it.
We can get some compost.
Rosemary and lavender compost.
Exercise for some.
Interesting.
So, yeah, we
7 hours.
We try to take the least mechanical route we can on.
Yeah, I like that.
That's good.
Nature did the work.
I like that.
That, again, there's the MBBR, and so they can gather all the air from that if they wanted to. Right now, it just, there's a, you can't see it over there, but there's just a U-shape.
Mike, how close is that plant to any, like, restaurants or?
The parking lot, I can hit the parking lot with, like that, but it's probably 100 feet or so from the facility.
And are those large white tanks, is that part of it, or is that something else?
No, those are their propane tanks.
Okay, yeah.
I would get more smell from that than me.
Yeah.
And Steve, this is why I came up with meander tank, because these poor guys, their septic tank fills up and it's like a 500-mile round trip to empty it. And by the time they get done taking one load, they bring it back, it's full again.
Yeah.
And so, using the meander tank, we can take smaller loads out.
You can use it as an EQ tank too.
Yeah. But anyway, that's,
So what kind of pumping would be involved with this then? Like how often would you be, for this size system?
well, this one has just the raw sewage from all the facility, all
Oh,
the
it's not
things
a
come
set.
into a settling tank, and that's what we're talking about with
Okay,
I put a meander tank on yours just for mixing,
yeah.
but
In other words, we would not have a grate like you saw with them. You would have that.
Yeah.
Tank. And that tank basically is a big septic tank, basically, that comes around for, it's an equalization tank. So
Yeah, and
you've got
that-
a couple pumps in it that you can pump in to the system on a consistent basis.
And so this, you sent me the drawings for the one in 29 Palms, which
Yes.
is, it's on, what is it, 6,000 square foot lot, was it, or so?
Yeah.
And that's you say it was a 30,000 gallon a day or something?
20,000 Av, 30,000, 32,000 peak. It's this one.
That one, okay.
Yeah.
And that, what's the timing on that going in?
I just got 100% drawings this week with MB5, and you guys are about hired
The district
MB5
is
for
using
something
MB5
else.
or something.
But anyway, I think we're looking at next year on this.
Yeah. And regional board approving something like this, do you think that's, I mean, is that uphill battle?
I've had these, well, no, I've had these Axe Maxes in this region for
Yeah,
a long
yeah.
time. Just did Taiga District landfill,
Yeah.
so no problem. They're very familiar with it. And again, we've got some very good results from some of our other systems.
Yeah.
So we can prove that we can meet total nitrogen 10.
So getting rid of the water then, with pressure line, is it feasible to go to multiple different locations? Like if you had a ball field, if you had a park, to get rid of, and dry wells?
Oh, you're talking
just
about
like a distribution system.
distribution
first.
system, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a valve.
Or a
A
collection
valve
system.
goes this way, a valve goes that way.
yeah. So you can distribute it, it doesn't all have to go down one area?
No, basically in your control room, you have a series of valves, and the valves, you could determine where each one is, and your PLC or control panel
Yeah.
can actually indicate how much of it goes to one place, how much of it goes to another place.
We have it's Advantex, but we have a pretty good sized system on the park there in San Francisco. It's a national park. And that one does that. They have a whole bunch of solenoids that sends it. So one day they may send it over here, and the next day they send it over here, and they balance it. They use it for irrigation.
So like this system here at this hotel, do they have a full-time employee that manages it, or is it contracted, or how do they?
It's one of their maintenance guys. That's, they assigned it to him to take care of. So if they have to pump the tank, the big sludge tank or septic tank, when they have to do that, they bring a subcontractor.
And how often do they have to maintain the system?
They maintain this one about once a week because the guys are there anyway.
You're saying the operator operates just this system, he's not doing other systems?
Right, he actually works for them,
Okay.
and so he's got, they have a water system and everything.
This is just one of his many jobs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's there, so once a week. I know he does testing once a week because.
So you don't have a dedicated operator there all the time? Okay.
We should probably get going to the airport.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
No, I mean, you take a look at the Ventex system.
Oh, Advantex is just like, it's a different, no, the same company. It's a different treatment. Product. So like those little bitty eggs, 20s you saw over there, some of them, that's how AX got started. It's the textile in there. That's what AX.
All of these are Advantex. These little ones are
Advantex is
Advantex.
not a company.
No, it's a product.
Where's Bob?